Okay, another question, I think somewhat related, is are we responsible for the potential use of what we create? You talked about harvesting resources and producing goods.
I don't think so.
So when we put them in people's hands...
Yeah, I could, in very good conscience, work in a firearms manufacturing company. Because I think firearms are usually used for hunting or for protection, self-defense. Those are morally good purposes. The fact that a criminal is going to use them, I don't think is my responsibility. It's the government's responsibility. If that's one example. Yeah. Or I could work in a paper mill that produces paper for newspapers, but pornographers, might buy it down the road in the market. I can't be responsible for secondary uses of products that I produce. I mean, people could take my systematic theology and hit each other over the head with it.
It could be dangerous.
Boy, there's a word picture for it.
I think we've done that around here.
Yeah, right.
Actually.
I'm not responsible.
And I would say this, that there might be a situation, let's say, predominantly in the South, where many Christians historically have been involved in the tobacco industry, where there might be a true moral struggle when they look statistically at the numbers of people who are dying, the disease, the health costs, all of that, who might have to come to terms with, should I really be part of this or not?
And that's a good example. I don't think I could, in good conscience, work for a tobacco company. Because I think that the harm is much greater than... And I know there are personal liberty issues and freedom of choice, but I couldn't personally do that. Or own stock in a tobacco company. Although, honestly, Randy, there's a secondary cause there. It might differ. If I own a mutual fund that owns 1,000 stocks, and an index fund owns 4,000 stocks, and one of them is a tobacco company, who cares? That doesn't bother me. It might bother you.
Yeah, well, it would bother me if I knew it and I could do something about it and had an alternative. Then it would.
Right. Another question is, what economic systems are more biblical than others? Are there any that are completely biblical? Are there any that are completely unbiblical?
I think communism is completely unbiblical because it abolishes private property and therefore reduces human freedom to serve God with our resources. And so it's a dehumanizing system of government. And I've been in communist Russia, and I've been in communist China. And communism is less intense now in China than it was, but it's evolving. But I think those are both... Communism is an evil system, and it's destructive. And I think that there are good arguments for saying that number one, there should be ownership of private property allowed in a society, that property belongs fundamentally to individuals, not to government, and not to society. Therefore, I'm not a communist, and I'm not a socialist. And number two, I think there should be, that the Bible values not slavery or bondage, but human freedom, freedom to make choices and to follow God or disobey Him as people choose. Once you have private ownership of property and you have a value on human freedom, you basically have a free market economy. Now, the government has to restrain criminal activity, so there's some restraint on that free market economy. But basically, I think that is both consistent with biblical principles for how God made human beings to function, and it is remarkably, wonderfully, the most productive kind of economy.
That's just what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's good.
No, that's great. I agree.